Welcome to Tidbit Talkin. This series is just spewing out assorted thoughts about boatloads of entertainment media. Some ideas are serious, others not so much. There will be spoilers for the series currently featured, but generally only vague references to any other connected ones in a shared universe. Now, with all that out of the way, here we go. Shiv Part One. Cindy's affluence-aided arrogant attitude most likely reminded Shining Knight of certain less-than-noble Arthurian times-found individuals he used to live alongside, which probably resulted in much keeping a close eye on her related action. Later, watching her brutally almost kill Courtney in rather scaly attire would make Sir Justin's suspicions justified once she starts also bringing up a response similar to what he gets when glancing at that Dragon King fellow, whose necessary slaying made him become all Blue Valley residents holding. The young Miss Berman's head cheerleader status may only be because her father insisted she take up a school associate position, which would let him directed ability development seeking watchful eyes always stay on both Artemis and Henry King Jr. The chance of spotting other potential meta kids would have been a nice bonus too. The cosmic staff goes pretty crazy while blasting Shiv because it rather quickly figured out said She Savage sported healing powers which would prevent murder or at least close field ending situations, like what happened with Brainwave earlier. Shiv Part 2. Henry's normal arm functions are seemingly disabled while that kooky telekinesis is really kicking in because his crossed wires filled super brain doesn't quite understand that both picking stuff up via actually touching it and not doing that are totally normal now. Cindy must keep that photo of her father's former human Dr. Ito shape to remind herself I'm this man's daughter, not that monster's, during what if I'm also a lizard-free concerned thoughts-filled panic attacks. Somewhat related, Beth probably figured any not solely self-sporting snapshots were put up by somebody other than their high school's most popular girl, like by that stepmom or something. Thus said daddy picture getting snatched would go totally unnoticed. Continuing with ideas for this not moving picture, if Cindy does realize the photo's gone, she might believe it to be caused by some sort of lighter abusive father originating punishment. That key is either too heavy to effortlessly lift with typical muscle might, or it's covered in some kind of peculiar chemical coating that makes direct touch feel overwhelmingly unpleasant. Hence this thing's simplicity being sufficient security for scandalous secrets, and the above average athleticism armed junior leaving mind moving must be used for achieving its glorious purpose of opening dainty drawers. Brainwave Senior jumping to conclusions about people only possessing negative thoughts in true self places, contrasting his son's folks are mostly good mentality, probably primarily involves the former's power development only occurring after a fully grown brain already strongly believes such hoopla on account of treating violent crime victims regularly and whatnot. Also, chances are the human mind's natural tendency to put bad stuff up front with regards to impact having levels for flight, fight, contemplation, igniting self-defense purposes might make crappy consideration get thrust into psychic people's pondering portions before anything else. Another thing that's problematic for Daddy Doom Detector would be how his own training in the medical field leads him to putting personal feelings aside out of professional necessity. That is, he thinks all folks bury badness that lingers for a long period, instead of only briefly thinking normal self-contradicting vile whatever when overwhelmingly harsh crap happens, and then feeling regret for such ideas later once calming down occurs after positive stimulation resumes. Brainwave Jr. The Strange Adventures film in this universe might actually be historical fiction, focused upon that old school JSA's exploits and or stuff pulled off by other such superheroes. Based on the labels of tapes and various chronology concerning comments, it seems like Henry King Sr. was dabbling in others' brainy unpleasantness motivated villainous ways for about 2 to 3 years before meeting Mary. Surly, sparkling super staff stopping before crashing into and or blasting Team Frosty mentality might actually be mostly amnesic Brainwave's loved one attachment filled mind, being better at defensive maneuvers than his typical all people are trash sort of ideology filled self. Also, said cosmic weapon might be hesitating because it senses his apparent goodness. Fun little thing, it looks like Rick has about 10 minutes left once these bars wound up getting bent. What happened with Mary's murder and the Jordan Henry Sr. fault ratio seems to be as follows. Brainwave concluded that if he resisted Icicle, the latter will kill his wife anyway, and after much despair, I say joining would occur once again, so might as well let her die in an apparently more pleasant manner. To go through with this, he would have requested that Dragon King alter the spouse-cherishing part of his brain in ways which would render him still able to at least pretend there was junior-related concern beyond power development, usefulness kind of things. Later on in life, these good person dormant brain bits would get a jump start after the horribly changed mind got forcefully shut off by some Starman-associated righteous female person, aka the one individual aside from his son who could undeniably remind him of what it's like to be in front of a certain girl of 1,000 gimmicks. Either because said son showed sufficient saintliness, or Dr. Edith's procedure touch-up didn't get fully finished, Henry Sr. retained enough goodness upon merciless bad guy state returning to give his child something kinda resembling a proper burial. Shining Knight. Pat's persistence in Sir Justin's noggin might involve more than the former's mental fortitude and general strong bond-connected whatnot. Rather, Dragon King couldn't do a very good job of erasing stripesy-filled what-have-you during his prototype hypnosis experiment because he saw the sidekick as overwhelmingly unimportant. On a related note, interacting with the crazy awesome robot armor thingy creating Mr. Dugan helped Shining Knight gain some more true self-grip maintaining strength, not only because said fellow can directly bring forth reminders about such things, but also since those just now mentioned feats share similarity with his own, went from horse stable cleaning shenanigans jam humble beginnings, then reached Excalibur-wielding knighthood adventures, filled backstory. The cosmic staff seems to respond in an activation sort of way for people who hold great confidence in both themselves and others. Thus it brightens up more than ever once Courtney's everybody's wonderful philosophy-connected mindset went from kinda backed by Starman relation belief notions to fully personally generated true self-assuredness whatever. Stars and Stripe Part 1. Tigress being fully decked out in true work gear, but her husband not doing the same could very well be because Sportsmaster wasn't actually expecting to fight anybody. Rather, the dude thought he'd just be smashing up that robot with Pat's own tools and whatnot in an unoccupied garage. So some apparently accidental car droid exploiting action could be staged in ways which seemed like they could happen with no human interference whatsoever. Mike might have worked on his stealth skills after the initial getting caught situation, which resulted in him getting forced to do that paper route. Wouldn't want his game system getting confiscated again after all. Also, tiniest not canine Dugan may want to perfect these abilities, so he never gets assigned extra work from his boss after a normal routine completion malarkey occurs. Justin's pickup preference could very well be because these vehicles remind him of old-timey horse-drawn carriages. What with the general sorta size-shape similarities, such stuff somewhat sports. Also, he might like trucks because they make it easier to haul around the gear of all 8-7 soldiers. Rick doesn't consider car chemistry connections until Pat points possibilities regarding such things out to him, because most memories about said vehicle involve interference from his horribly abusive uncle. Thinking about the primary source of his anger while working on something that truly makes him forget about such not-so-fun emotional life-guiding what's-it probably ain't something he's willing to dive headfirst into. The one tunnel that Stripe can get through must be for Grundy. There'd only be a single option available for his exiting action, so the ISA could keep track of him more easily. On a rather loosely related note, the Injustice Society is okay with their plan killing 25 million people, and don't intend to try dwindling that number down, because they're considering programming more stuff later if necessary, and perfecting this device seems like too much work. Plus, if they spend too long on this project, they open themselves up to more chances for superheroes or even normal authorities-connected folks stopping everything. Stars and Stripe Part 2. The whole point of that American Dream business was probably something like, normally encourage these people to think as closely as possible to what we want them programmed for, so said mind writing can go quicker. Shining Knight might have intentionally let Cindy out because he knows how effective a distraction this justifiably pissed off at daddy lass could be in battle. The guy would know where her punishment room is because she was in there at times during those awful experiments he was subjected to. Yolanda most likely figured out how to swiftly strike without thinking by studying Ted Grant utilized boxing moves that were designed as opponents can't read these sort of things. People forced to believe what the ISA wants couldn't cure cancer no matter how much they work together. Personality is just as important to scientific discovery as raw mental capacity. Only those with certain unique worldviews can figure out things nobody else is able to by tempering their sheer mind potential with solely them emotional whatnot. Everybody in this new nation would possess a mindset nigh identical to Henry Senior's, and that guy didn't discover jack, except for sorta brain murder things. Jordan's shattering most likely can only occur because wintry full power state involves turning his body's biological building blocks into cold air that retains a general normal human sorta shape through sheer force of will. The possibility of dying horribly because focus loss occurred is why he doesn't normally go so far. He probably generally just activates a thin top of skin that's about to die anyway cell layer, so this very situation wouldn't happen. While she had tennis shoes on during her imprisonment, hypothetically, Cindy could wear high heels indefinitely because of her regeneration powers. Needed over her, unlimited fanciness. Unsorted general season thoughts, which honestly are just at the end here instead of properly under the appropriate episode, because they're based on ideas I had years ago after these episodes first aired, and not during my rewatch. Plus, I already made this dumb title card thing before I finished the script and recording, so why not use it? In the original Stars and Stripe comic, kids are who get thinky scrambled, not adults. Flipping things makes for a better plan, though. In this events occurring later filled world, what with the youngins normally being all climate concerned and everything, seeing parents suddenly shift towards similar idea management plans would result in at least some folks thinking they simply successfully persuaded that pesky previous generation. Sure, others would be suspicious, but the fraction that's arrogant enough to not care would persuade their more savvy peers through typical large number pressure kind of deals. Those outside of ISA programming reach would later on get similarly pushed into the new world order, with even less suspicion after very far away from ominous satellite dishes location that fed news stories about this surprisingly progressive society. Even if things got found out far later, the now adults wouldn't really be willing to throw away what they truly believed in from get-go places. If anything came about from cover-up slipping, it'd probably be simple reparations sending or something. Considering that he stops caring about helping out his teammates after those funds get swiped, it seems the gambler Ziegler never really thought things would go Jordan's way. After all, if they did win, this money would be rendered useless anyway, because their new nation would be establishing fresh currency. Yolanda killing Brainwave so mercilessly might involve him unconsciously instilling some of his own ruthlessness into her, because he's all woozy from using his powers in such a colossal manner. Grundy doesn't perish here because it looks like this was a school day. He's supposed to die on Saturday. Endings are a pain, but all of you are fantastic. See ya.